I've been waiting my whole life for this one. Orthopedic surgeon and husband for The View host, Sonny HOSTIN, has been named in a federal lawsuit alleging insurance fraud. She got on television. She got these women tell me why her husband is named in a lawsuit in insurance fraud. And I'm gonna show you exhibit. Let me say exhibit B. Can you show this to the jury?
You're married, Tom, you're married. If your husband's doing something, if he's allegedly doing something like this, you guys would know if your wives were up to some nefarious stuff. Let's just not forget who she is. She's been, for years, lecturing America about morality, inequality, systemic failures, and look at her track record. How many times has she had to go on in the past 2 months and look at the camera and do a legal apology for all the stuff that she said on the show? And then she also, on Trump's win, calling the loss because of uneducated white women that Trump won.
We have to know that this is accused.
All accused. Yeah, all accused, but he's in the RICO. This is a big RICO case that her husband's in there.
Sonny HOSTIN, a woman who has spent years positioning herself as a voice of reason and moral clarity on The View, now finds herself at the very center of a scandal so immense it threatens to erase everything she has built. Her husband, Dr. Emmanuel HOSTIN, once a respected orthopedic surgeon, has been named in a sweeping lawsuit tied to one of the largest RICO fraud cases in New York's history. An alleged scheme that prosecutors say ballooned to nearly $500 million. For years, Sonny has sat at the table on national television, confidently lecturing the country about justice, fairness, inequality, and morality. She hasn't hesitated to call out public figures, politicians, or cultural movements when she thought they fell short of her standards. But now, as her own household becomes engulfed in accusations of corruption and deceit, the irony is impossible to ignore. Those who watched her speak about truth and integrity are now asking, how could she not have known what was unfolding in her own home?
Her husband accused of committing federal insurance fraud in a lawsuit, okay? Now, let's read this. Rob, is this a video?
Well, I have this. I'll show you this. Let
me just read this and I'll come to you. So, Dr. Emmanuel Manny HOSTIN, an orthopedic surgeon and husband of The View co-host Sonny HOSTIN, is accused in December lawsuit fraudulently billing insurance. By the way, this is a Daily Caller story I'm reading. The lawsuit alleges HOSTIN knowingly provided fraudulent medical and other healthcare services in exchange for kickbacks and or compensation, and names him among nearly 200 defendants in one of New York's largest RICO cases. Wow. HOSTIN's attorney, Daniel Twites, denies the allegations, calling the lawsuit a meritless attempt by a near-bankrupt insurance carrier to intimidate doctors and restrict healthcare benefits. The case involves claims that HOSTIN performs unnecessary surgeries on patients after minor accidents without exploring less invasive treatments, with American Transit citing New York's 1974 no-fault law as contributing to widespread.
The accusations against Dr. HOSTIN are staggering. Federal filings describe a system designed not to heal patients, but to exploit them, one in which minor accident victims, many taxi drivers, Uber drivers, and Lyft drivers, were allegedly funneled into unnecessary surgeries. Instead of receiving non-invasive care, they were reportedly convinced to undergo operations they didn't need, procedures that not only put their health at risk, but also served as fuel for fraudulent insurance claims. According to prosecutors, the goal was never recovery, it was profit. The charges fall under the RICO Act, a law originally crafted to dismantle organized crime families. Seeing it applied to doctors and medical businesses has stunned the public. Nearly 200 defendants are named in this lawsuit, with Dr. HOSTIN's name among them, placing him squarely in the center of what officials describe as a sprawling web of fraud.
The View co-host Sonny HOSTIN's husband, Emmanuel HOSTIN, has been accused of federal insurance fraud. According to a new lawsuit obtained by Page 6, the orthopedic surgeon was one of 200 defendants named in one of the biggest racketeer influence and corrupt organization cases ever filed in New York. Emmanuel was accused of federal insurance fraud and, quote, getting kickbacks by performing surgery and billing a company that insured taxi companies and Uber and Lyft drivers. According to the documents, he knowingly provided fraudulent medical and other healthcare services, including arthroscopic surgeries.
The scale is breathtaking. Surgeries billed at astronomical rates, kickbacks exchanged in secret, and insurance companies drained dry. What was once routine medical care now stands accused of being transformed into a machine for exploitation. The allegations are specific and chilling. Arthroscopic surgeries, normally considered safe, minimally invasive operations on joints like knees and shoulders, are now at the heart of the case.
Always the people that always do the pointing, and it always comes back to them, all right? So when you said this is the largest RICO case ever filed in the state of New York, you guys wrap that around your brain. That's bigger than the mafia case. Like the mafia one was number one. This one takes it over. So he was scamming insurance companies from taxi drivers, Uber drivers, and Lyft drivers. He was performing unnecessary surgeries and then providing fraudulent medical services in exchange.
These procedures, meant to restore mobility and relieve pain, are alleged to have been performed in bulk, not because patients required them, but because the insurance payouts were lucrative. Prosecutors argue that patients became pawns, their trust betrayed, their bodies reduced to bargaining chips in a financial game that spanned clinics and hospitals across New York.
Guys, this is why we need to seriously have a long, lengthy conversation about healthcare in the United States of America. This is basically it. So Sunny Hostin's husband was basically charged with insurance fraud. What he was doing was doing like fraudulent surgeries and then overcharging the insurance companies for him. This is what this is. So now, of course, he's now being named along with about 200 other individuals in a federal RICO charge case, guys.
The lawsuit, spearheaded by American Transit Insurance Company, claims it was systematically defrauded through these surgeries and billings. They allege hundreds of millions were siphoned away through a vast network of medical professionals, clinics, and businesses. In their words, they were robbed blind.
I've been waiting my whole life for this one. Orthopedic surgeon and husband for the View host, Sunny Hostin, has been named in a federal lawsuit alleging insurance fraud. She got on television. She run these women. Tell me why her husband is named in a lawsuit in insurance fraud, and I'm gonna show you exhibit. Let me say exhibit B. Can you show this to the jury? Roll it, Nick.
You know, doctors suffer because of big corporations as well. Doctors that want to do good, like my husband.
To capture the absurdity, one analyst compared it to buying a steak dinner, being charged double, and walking away without ever tasting a bite. And yet, the defense is pushing back hard. Dr. Hostin's attorney, Daniel Tuitz, has dismissed the allegations as baseless, framing them instead as the desperate maneuver of a failing insurance company seeking scapegoats. He insists that American Transit, teetering on the brink of collapse, is targeting doctors in an attempt to deflect attention from its own financial instability. According to him, this is not fraud, it's a corporate cover-up.
Pastor, last week we learned that Sunny's husband, Dr. Emmanuel Hostin, was named in a lawsuit filed by American Transit Insurance Company. He's one of 200 people named in this lawsuit, and they are accusing him of filing fraudulent insurance claims and also getting kickbacks from them. And it's a very serious crime. In fact, it's one of the largest, if not the largest, RICO case in New York's history, and they're seeking $450 million. And Sunny and her husband, they are fighting back. They've hired legal eagle Mark Garagos to help them fight this case, and they're claiming that this is completely baseless.
But with nearly 200 names attached to this case, many are skeptical. The lawsuit paints a picture of an intentional, coordinated racket, one in which healthcare was weaponized for greed. The numbers are so large, the cast of defendants so sprawling, that even comparisons to organized crime don't seem exaggerated. Legal experts are already calling it one of the most significant fraud cases in the state's history, larger even than some of the legendary mafia takedowns. For Sunny Hostin, the fallout is more than just legal. Her entire public persona is under siege. The same woman who regularly chastised political opponents and scolded social trends is now being labeled a hypocrite. Critics point to her silence on the matter as proof of guilt by association. Normally quick to comment on any controversy, Sunny has chosen not to address the storm swirling around her husband. That silence, rather than shielding her, has only intensified speculation.
I want a citizen that has a policy. I mean, I'm not saying that Joe Rogan should be removed from Spotify. He's got 11 million listeners. He's got $100 million, contract as of 2020. But I do think as the podcast platform, you have to have some sort of guidelines. How about a disclaimer on his podcast that says, this is misinformation? How about removing some of the podcasts that disseminate this misinformation?
They have.
And that's
Podcaster Joe Rogan was among the first to seize on the scandal, mocking her on air and blasting what he called the moral posturing of The View. He described the show as chaotic and self-righteous, ridiculing Sunny for spending years pointing fingers while now refusing to explain what's happening in her own family. His remarks went viral, spreading rapidly across social media, ensuring that the story reached an even wider audience. For Sunny, each new clip and each new headline chips further away at her credibility. The case itself reads like a script straight out of a crime drama.
Anna went in a different direction, but I love the fact that, Manny is younger and he's
How much younger is he?
Just a little bit.
He's like 1 year, isn't he? Like a month or a year or 10 years?
5 years. It's more than a year.
Oh.
Anyway, it's not about me. I think.
Oh, no.
I think that it's very helpful that he's handy, and when we travel, I'm not picking up any bags. He's the one that's hefting them overhead. He throws the garbage out.
Right.
He does the heavy stuff.
Prosecutors allege insurance fraud on a massive scale, illegal kickbacks, and a calculated effort to milk the system. They describe a medical world transformed into a racket where scalpels replaced weapons and sterile operating rooms replaced the back rooms of old gangster films. Patients who trusted their doctors may now be grappling with the horrifying realization that their suffering was manufactured, their trust exploited, all for someone else's payday. As the legal fight begins, the stakes are enormous. If proven guilty, Dr. HOSTIN could face not only financial ruin, but severe criminal consequences. For Sunny, the potential collapse is both professional and personal. Rumors of financial instability have already begun to swirl, with some speculating about mounting legal bills and the looming specter of bankruptcy. Networks and advertisers are watching closely, unsure if her image can survive intact. Inside the courtroom, the arguments are growing sharper by the day. Prosecutors insist this was not sloppy bookkeeping or administrative error. It was a deliberate, calculated racket. The defense maintains that doctors like Dr. HOSTIN are simply victims of a collapsing insurance industry desperate to point the finger elsewhere.
Giuliani shook the tree and a bunch of mobsters fell out, right? This is big stuff. And so, and thank you for bringing that video. It sure is ironic that she's up there. So, but if she didn't really know what was going on, right, which is what she's probably going to say later, oh, I had no idea what my husband and his associates were doing. We'll wait and see what that is. But I think it's pretty freaking ironic.
Yeah.
I have a totally different perspective on this. I don't really know what happened with this. The facts will come out. What I have a problem with is the core of who this woman is. Unlike you, I don't watch The View, bro. All I do is see clips.
It's like twice a day.
Here's all I hear from her. America's violent. America's racist. America's bad. Okay. I challenge you, Sonny. And this is Constantine Kissin actually was saying something about this. Find me a country that's not racist.
Each side hurls accusations like daggers, and with every passing week, the pressure builds. Outside the courtroom, the cultural impact is undeniable. This is no longer just a legal scandal. It has become a broader conversation about healthcare in America, about trust between patients and doctors, and about the hypocrisy of public figures who present one image while living another. Sunny's silence has become part of the story itself. Viewers notice. They remember her fiery critiques of politicians and celebrities. And now they wonder why that same fire has vanished when the scrutiny turns inward. The scale of the scandal ensures it won't fade quickly. With nearly $500 million at stake, hundreds of defendants, and accusations that stretch across the medical industry, the case could drag on for years. That means Sunny will eventually be forced to make a choice: speak out and risk fanning the flames, or stay quiet and surrender control of the narrative to her critics. Either way, the outcome will shape not just her husband's fate, but her own future. Already, voices across the media spectrum are debating her role. Some argue that she should not be held responsible for her husband's alleged actions, while others insist that her silence makes her complicit, especially given her history of calling out others with relentless intensity. Every day she waits, the pressure grows. Every headline amplifies the irony. Every viral clip cements the perception of hypocrisy. For Sunny Hostin, the damage is already evident. Her credibility, her career, and her reputation are under siege. Even if Dr. Hostin is ultimately cleared, the association with one of the largest fraud cases in New York's history will linger. The shadow of this scandal will not easily fade. What began as whispers has erupted into a storm of historic proportions. The courtroom battles are only beginning, the media frenzy shows no signs of slowing, and the cultural fallout will continue to ripple outward. Sunny Hostin, once a judge of others, now finds herself judged by the very same unforgiving public she spent years lecturing. And as the world watches, one truth has become clear: this saga is far from over.